Hey guys, what's poppin'? Roshi is here. This is the deck tech for Elysian Dinosaurs. Very interesting list. Stick around, it'll show you my thoughts on the list, how we got there, what cards we're using, and why we're using them. It can be very helpful, and maybe if you don't really know why I'm doing certain things, I'll go over each card and give a quick once over and explain why. If you want to see more content like this, drop a subscribe. If you think this is interesting, drop a like, show my video to more people, please. And if you have any decks you want me to build, toss them in the comments down below, hop on my Discord, post them there, or come harass me live. All great ways to hit me up. Enjoy. Alright, so we are playing some Happy Dinosaurs here. This list might look... I wouldn't call it a mid-range deck, and I wouldn't call it an aggro deck. It falls somewhere in between those two spectrums. We are coming out of the gates fast and looking to give some dinosaurs killer and then copy them. This deck is as straightforward as it gets. There's some subtleties to it, but for the most part, we play dinosaurs and smash. Barney ain't got nothing on these dinosaurs, and in a land before time, you might as well play Primal. So many dinosaur puns. But, sure you guys don't mind. I mean, a Jurassic amount of parks. Puns is all just part of the brand. Let's just take a look at some of the cards. This will be a faster deck tech than usual, just because this deck's pretty straightforward. Initiate of the Sands, +1 maximum power. This does exactly what it seems to do. It just helps us curve out faster. Sometimes we're not able to play our 2-drops on time or whatever, so being able to play this lets us recoup some of that lost speed. We only have 5 sigils and 4 insignias, so even though we're basically base time, our power is not entering untapped in time to play stuff most of the time. So what this lets us do is turn 2 when we play a second tap power. We can play Initiate, and then that kind of gets us to 4 power on the next turn or whatever. It just gets us back on track to where we want to be. And of course, if you ever have the sigil or the insignia, it's an insane start. So Seat will also get you there, but you need the sigil to do Seat. So there's that. Potentially, if you wanted, you could cut a few banners and play more sigils, or play some primal sigils. Honestly, wouldn't fault you for that. I just kind of went all in on the time for Alhed, but potentially 2 of these for 2 primal sigils could be correct. But honestly, that's still not helping you cast your Initiate on 1. So I don't really know what the correct answer for that is, but the other thing to keep in mind too is for our Bellowing Thunderfoots and Elas to come down consistently, we do need a good deal of Primal, and if you play any less than, if I was to play any less than 16 sources, I know I would just never have it. I know that math is not right, I just know sometimes the struggle's real. Alhed, first ability, 4 time. Attacking units have decay. This really helps us, even if our guys are just getting chump blocked or overwhelmed, your opponent's creatures are just bigger, Alhed lets you still punch through in combat and, get value out of your creatures by just shrinking your opponent's board. If they're playing any sort of reanimator, they're going to be really annoyed with Alhed in play because their stuff's just permanently shrunk. So they can't reanimate it, or if they do, it's going to be crappy. Relic weapons they have are just going to get decimated by this if you're hitting them. Later on, he gets +2/+2 and Overwhelm, and where he starts to get extremely spicy, although in our deck, it's kind of hard to really get there. If you do, it's insane, is when you're at 8 time. Every time you play another unit, this guy gets massive. It actually won me a few games, and Alhed's a house. It's also one of the better cards to Twilight Hunt, because it just happens so early and is just such a huge tempo swing. Your opponent might just lose from that point because you've got a 5/5, you ate their minion, and then like you're gonna play other stuff on top of that, and it gets out of hand. Dairy, Cathane, Ripclaw Rider. This is the member of the Annoy Your Opponent's Spell squad. We'll get to the other card that is also a member of this squad. Note that this card is an Explorer Dinosaur, and that matters. We'll get to that later. But usually this is just a 0/4 that increases cost. Eventually we can pay 3 to buff this guy and make him a 4/4. We actually have enough ways to do this pretty consistently. Sometimes our opponent helps us do it between fire bombs or whatever. So the second part actually can happen, but just being a 0/4 that increases the cost of a spell would be... It's like a rate we don't mind, and eventually it gets big. We can also just give it Killer too, which isn't the worst thing you could do. Evelina. So this is why Explorers matter. When you play an Explorer, dinosaurs in your hand get +1/+1. So if you can kind of work it out so Evelina is the first card you play, and we're playing a bunch of dinosaurs, a few of which are also Explorers, you can kind of curve out so that you buff your whole hand, and then you play another Explorer and buff your whole hand, and just keep doing that. And eventually your guys will be so big, your opponent's going to have trouble dealing with them. Kimi, also an Explorer dinosaur. One of my viewers actually requested I make a Kimi deck, so this is that. And Expedition Guide just does work. We can give this Twilight Hunt, and it's a 3/7? That's just huge. Like, what's dealing with a 3/7 efficiently? Like, I guess Defiance and like Turn to Seed can, but not a lot of stuff on the ground is really happy to see you with a 3/7. And making a bunch of shifted jabronis is pretty solid too. We don't really have any shift synergy other than Kimi, but we don't need it. Just an army and a can is just fine. Also, the Explorers she makes are Explorers, so if you curve Evelina into Kimi, every time you attack with Kimi, you buff all the dinosaurs in your hand. So that's crazy. Member 2 of the Annoy the Spells in your opponent's hand squad is Sandspitter. This card got buffed recently, and I don't think anyone even bothered to play with it, but we did, and it wasn't bad. It dies to, like, everything. Like, you blink at this card and it dies, but if it resolves, it just makes all of your opponent's removal very annoying, and, like, for them to cast. I had times where my opponent was holding up 1 power, and we knew it was Defiance, so I just pre-combat slammed Sandspitter, and I'm like, alright, well, you can't cast anything now. Or if you do, you have to cast it in response, so you're not going to get blown out by Silverblade as often with this, and it'll annoy stuff like Bubble Shield, so it was actually pretty good. I didn't hate it, and there were a few times where I would give it Killer and buff it to be like a 6/4, and then I would clone it. And that was funny, because then every card in their hand just gets more and more expensive as the game goes on. Ela and Mizo, kind of continuing the theme of being an Explorer dinosaur, and actually copying itself. It's the top end we want, for sure. It just fits everything thematically, and having endurance helps a lot too. Oftentimes we'll play this with 6 power. We'll play Ela and Mizo and give it Killer, finish something off on our opponent's board, and now if they attack us and don't kill Mizo, we get another one, and that one's gonna hold Killer. That's nuts. Just being a 5 power 6/6 after we've been playing all these other guys and like annoying the spells in their hand can also just be enough to close out a game. For Bellowing Thunderfoot, this is a tempo card for sure, and since we're an aggro deck, we don't mind a tempo card like this, but being a 5/5 is perfectly respectable. If you've buffed any of your guys, it shouldn't be too hard to play this Thunderfoot for like 1 or 2 power and clear a blocker out of the way and get some extra damage in. And then the next turn, you've got a 5/5 and their guy's still stunned. So very good tempo play. I feel like a lot of people underrate this card, and it does work, so we like it. Predator Instinct is just bad Twilight Hunt. Don't make the mistake I made a few times of thinking this was Twilight Hunt, even though it wasn't. and then trying to buff a dinosaur and realizing at that moment that you messed up. We're playing an Etchings market. In our market, we've got cheap Relicate. Equivocate is a cheap removal spell that's just a catch-all. And then we go from cheap stuff to just really thick stuff. We're playing Nash, Sarasar Bull, and Thundering Karasaur. Nash will wreck any flyers that are in the way. Sarasar Bull will give you repeated Relicate and Attachment Hate. So this is actually a way for you to like strip permafrosts off your guys, which is cool. We have a lot of dinosaurs, so it'll probably have charge a good deal of time. And other than that, we've got Karasaur, which I don't think I used it at all, but for the first few games, I think I had Grodov's Burden, and I swapped it out for Karasaur. Maybe decide which you'd prefer, because I didn't really get a chance to test it. But I like the idea of Karasaur more. When I was playing Burden, I never really wanted to take the time to play it, and then when I did, it was just kind of slow and clunky. Whereas Karasaur comes down and is just a house and starts smashing if it lives, and if it dies, at least it replaces itself. For the power base, already kind of went over it, but we're just maxed out on time so that Alhed gets powered on as often as possible. Maybe a potential to trim some of these for some sigils, and that might be better. But that is the list. It is fun, and I had fun playing it. Hey guys, this has been the deck tech for Kira Dinosaurs. Pretty sweet list. The gameplay will be linked, should be in a comment down below or in the description, or maybe it'll, if I'm lucky and I'm doing a good job and you guys are clicking like enough, it'll be over on the side in your recommendations. If you do see it over there, let me know. I'm actually curious if I'm doing a good job of like promoting, like if my video is even showing, like if you're hearing this message, let me know where, like, did you see the video on Reddit? Is that how you got here? Did it show up on your sidebar? Did you just randomly decide to type Roshi is here into YouTube and then found me that way? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. I'd be interested to hear that, and I really am just curious because I don't know what my channel looks like to other people. I know what it looks like to me, and it would be cool to know. So if you guys could help me out with that, that'd be sweet.